I would like to ask you, Madam, how you define fascism in terms of or in reference of contemporary Indian society or Indian polity?
I'm glad you asked me that because too often we are talking about fascism in terms of other places. Of course, it's important to know what our historical global experience of fascism is, its forms in Europe, and so on. But the reason for us using this word again and again today in India is that fascism asks for uniformity. Fascism asks for all of us to live the same way, speak the same language, eat the same things, write with the same worldview. And not only is this impossible for all human beings all around the world, it's particularly impossible for those in India. Because if there is an Indian identity, if there is an idea of India that all of us know because it exists in front of our eyes, it is that of diversity. So, India, any idea, viable idea of India and fascism simply cannot coexist. And speaking specifically of artists, writers, cultural practitioners, what is our job? What do we do?
Now, that question I will ask you, but
Yes,
before that, I want to know,
yes.
do you think this is really a time when we can assume that the fascism is shadowing our society? Is it really that time where Indian society is facing terrorism? Oh, no, sorry, not terrorism, fascism. And what kind of fascism is this?
I don't think we are in a time when we can think of fascism as a shadow. It is not a shadow anymore.
Okay.
It has grown a body, it is real. We have fascism when a man is lynched for what he is supposed to have eaten, what kind of meat he's supposed to have had in his refrigerator. And then the debate now becomes, was it beef, as the other side puts it, cow and its progeny, or was it mutton? Completely forgetting the real point, which is a citizen, a fellow citizen, was lynched.
Yeah.
The point is not what he ate. The point is a citizen was murdered, was lynched. Now that is an example of fascism. There are any number of other examples. If you say, for example, that you come from a particular caste, so you cannot be a doctor. You come from a particular caste, so you cannot go and study for your PhD in a university, in a central university. That is fascism. If you are a woman and you are told that you must dress as we tell you, you must not leave the house after 8 p.m., we'll make you a goddess, but you cannot be a citizen. That is fascism. Now, this kind of use of difference to say difference is bad is fascist ideology, because that is the nature of human life, and that is the nature of this home of ours, India, that we are different. And many of us, who is pure?
Yep.
I speak a mixture, I grew up speaking a mixture of Malayalam and Tamil at home. I married somebody from Karnataka. My children grew up in Delhi and speak Hindi. Now, does that make us anti-nationals?
No way.
Because we are
No
not
way.
pure. So the point is, at the heart of the Indian identity, there is something called hybridity, diversity. And all these are natural enemies of fascism, which exist today in our day-to-day lives. Day-to-day lives, not somewhere, with elections, not somewhere in parliament or the court, but in our own homes and our lives.
Okay. So I would like to know, since you are a well-known novelist and fiction writer and academician, can you tell us the creative community or the writers how they will create awareness about this fascism, or how they will take part in curbing or countering this mindset, which is giving birth to a dangerous trend which is controlling everything. So what is role of writer according to you in this scenario?
Well, I think the writer has, like the artist, like the musician, like all those who create culture as well as partake of culture,
Yeah.
they have a special role to play, which is to say we will also fight any fascist tendencies or actual fascism through our work. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Last year when so many of the writers protested either by returning their awards or speaking out in public or issuing statements, they were asked very often, where were you during the emergency? Where were you when this happened? Where were you when that happened? Our answer really was, through our work, this is what we do every day. We question, we dissent,
Yes.
we celebrate difference,
Yeah.
we laugh at it, the kind of collisions that happen in our day-to-day lives because of difference. In short, we say this is the assumed normalcy. This is reality. It is a question of actually not just understanding and tolerating difference, but of embracing it, of celebrating it. And we will question any deviance from this idea of what our society should be. And so it is through our work that we make our primary statements.
Okay.
And we, in times like these, writers, artists, have an additional responsibility. We
Okay.
cannot sit only in our corners and
Yeah.
do our daily work.
Okay.
Just as the citizens of this country are taking time out from their day-to-day lives and coming out onto the streets, to the classroom, to the court,
Yep.
in the family, and talking about what fascism is, how it manifests itself, and trying to argue with people and make them see reason, this is what we have to do in public spaces as well.
Thank you very much, madam. The last question, that whatever happening in our society, how that will reflect in creative writing? Is there any
This
way?
is actually, two sorts of things happen. In a way good, in a way bad. Let's finish with the bad things. When you have shrinking cultural spaces, it's not just murder, which is terrible, one end of the spectrum, as we saw with Dabholkar and Pansare and
Yeah.
the scholar Kalburgi. It's not just silencing a writer and forcing him into writerly suicide like Perumal Murugan.
Yeah.
But at the other end of the spectrum, you also have writers who are forced into a form of self-censorship.
Yeah.
Because there is fear. Writers, like other citizens, have families. They have, heroes and heroines are not born.
Yeah.
They are made. So it's difficult for people to say, well, I will write this and quote danger. And of course, within that, there are vulnerable sections. It might be a community, a caste, it might be women. Women writers, we all know that very often they have anyway, even in so-called normal times, they've had to face a form of self-censorship because what will the husband think, what will the family think, and so on.
Yeah.
Then, these times make them even more inhibited. That is the downside. But I think in a way, these are times when we remember what writers are really supposed to do. In South Africa, don't forget, South Africa had all those years of experience with fighting apartheid. And the wonderful South African writer Andre Brink said that a writer must offend.
Yeah.
She must ask questions. And in bad times, as our old friend Bertolt Brecht said, will there be singing in dark times? There must be, because we have to sing about the dark times. So
Yeah.
we have to write about the times we live in.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this, having conversation with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.